What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Lil Man. Today we got another video, and before we start the video, or before I start actually talking about the video, let's get into the quote, right? So the quote is, "Our future reality depends on what we do now in the present moment." So this is a very powerful quote to me, and I post this a lot on my Snapchat, and I just basically think about it a lot, right? Because you can't just wake up one day and just be there, right? Wherever it is that you want to be, right? You can't just wake up one day and be a millionaire or have all the cars that you want, right? You got to work for that. And basically this quote means is that you have to basically be consistent at what you do. You have to put in the work, be consistent pretty much in all aspects of whatever you want to accomplish, right? You're not just gonna wake up one day, like I said, just be wherever you want to be. You're not gonna have $1 million just sitting in the bank from just thinking about what you could do, right? You have to put in the work, be consistent. You have to be dedicated. You have to have a passion for it, whatever it is, right? You just have to be dedicated to your skill, right? You just gotta have a plan for whatever you want to accomplish, right? You can't just go and just write something down and just think that this magic's gonna happen just because you wrote it down, right? You gotta write it down, you gotta plan, you gotta be consistent at it, you gotta put in work, put in the action, right? So that's basically what this quote means, and this is a very powerful one to me. So I seen that on the internet, and right when I seen it and read it, I was like, yep, this the one for today. But now that I went over that, let's get into the video. So I took 3 trades this week, NZD JPY buy, a Euro NZD sell, and a CHF JPY buy, right? And it was pretty much a break-even week for me, right? And break-even pretty much just means that you didn't win a lot, you didn't lose a lot, you just pretty much was even, right? So you just pretty much went break even, right? And that's what happened to me in the markets this week. And a lot of people think that's bad if you have a break even week, but it's actually good, right? Because it's not good, but you know what I mean? It's not bad, right? Because you didn't lose a lot of money. And in Forex, what we're trying to do is save our capital. Obviously, we're trying to make money in the markets, right? But if you have a week that you have a break-even week, it doesn't mean that you're doing terrible or whatever. It just means that you had a non-profitable week, right? And that's what happened to me this week. And all you can do is control risk. And after I go over the trades that I went through this week, I'm also going to be showing you guys the setups and what I'm waiting for next week. So just stay tuned for that too. But let's go ahead and start this video. Get your popcorn ready. No, I'm playing. Let's get into it. And actually, before I let y'all leave that quick, go ahead and hop in the comments and drop a question if you have any questions after the video, right? I want a lot of people to actually be dropping questions because I want to answer whatever you guys have that you guys are not sure about, you guys are confused about what I said in the video, anything, right? So just drop a question. And go ahead and hit the like and subscribe button for me real quick. And appreciate you for watching the video. Now let's get into it. Alright, so what's up, you guys? So the first trade we're going to go over is CHF JPY, and that's the Swiss franc versus the Japanese yen, right? So let's head into the sheets. So this is basically just my trading journal, right? And I had one from my old system, and this one is from my new system, right? Basically what a trading journal is just tracking your system, right? And once you track it, you can optimize it, and that's what the next video is going to be on. So stay tuned for that, and I'll go more in detail about the trading journal. But for this video, we're going to go over my trades, right? So we're going to start with CHF JPY, right? So as you can tell, this is the pair, open date, risk and pips, take profit and pips. So this is basically just a risk to reward, right? Fundamental bias, the technical confluences, entry picture, exit picture, win loss, break even, reasons for exit, and then trade notes, right? So let's go back down here. And this is basically just this week, right? So as you can tell, I had a break-even week one last week, right? So pretty much break-even. So let's start with CHF JPY, right? So I risked 20 pips for this trade, and I was trying to make 56. I'd say anywhere from 75 to 250, right? Just depends on the trades because everything's dynamic in Forex, right? So for this trade, for the fundamental bias, I had put half risk. Risk on in the market should help the yen weaken and make this trade valid. The only problem is CHF is probably not weak due to risk on, but it's a half trade risk anyways. My technical confluences were prices in an uptrend. Price came back to a good confluent area with the trendline touch, as well as the 200 MA underneath price and the 50 on the fib getting rejected and a wick hitting 38.2. So what this means is if we just open up the entry picture, basically I said it was rejecting the 38.2 on the fib, right? So you place it from the swing high to the swing low. So once you place it there, you just track where it comes back down to and retrace and rejects that, right? So it came back down, hit the 38.2, bounced up. Came back down, hit 38.2, bounced up. And as well as it's rejecting the 58 on the fib, right? And you can only have a fib in a trending market, right? So this is a trending market making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, right? So as I said, price came back to a good confluent area with the trend line touch and the 200 MA beneath price, right? So it came back here, hit this trend line that I have that it hit at one time as support, and down here I'll show you. It hit another time, right? So this is my trend line that I had in. And it came back and rejected 38.2, and then it started rejecting the 50, right? So this is about where I got in, and I didn't get it up here, right? Because I got it right here. I was just late putting it in my Google Sheets because I don't like really doing it on my phone because it doesn't give you a good view of the charts, right? So those are my reasons for entering the trade, right? Let's get back to the chart. Let's see what it looked like. So basically, as I said, right, price rejecting this downtrend, right? Because it hit, fell, hit, fell, hit, fell. So this is a downtrend. You can tell because it's making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, right? So it's trending down. So we only sell in that market. So once it broke out of that descending trend line, it started showing that buyers were in the market because it broke out of that and started pushing up. Then it started falling, and then broke out of that as well, right? So that was just showing me that there was bullish action in the market, right? So I was only looking to buy, right? So the confluence is like I said, it was a trend line touch. So you see how it hit here one time and it hit here one time. We're not going to really count this. So 1, 2, and then run it through, right? So I placed that trend line. And then price made a higher high right here, right? So after a higher high, what are we looking for? A higher low, right? And this is the area where everything was lining up for me, right? Because I had my 38.2, the 50 on the fib right here. I had 2 MAs coming right here, and I had this trend line as well as this key support and resistance level, right? Because if we go back, we can tell I hit a support, came back, rejected as resistance, fell through, broke through, resistance, and then we come back here, acting as resistance, support, resistance, came back up, broke, played around a little bit, right? And I was just waiting for it to come right back down here because this is my area where everything was lining up, right? So let's just get into it. So now that price is above my area, all I'm waiting for now is for price to come back and hit my area. So let's see what price does, right? Speed up. Alright, so now it's coming back to my area, right? So as you can see, once it hit this level right here that I have all my confluences at, it stalled, right? It didn't just hit this and break. So everything's looking good right now. Now we're gonna go ahead and see where I have my stop loss and my take profit levels, right? So for my take profit, I was just aiming here, right? And for my stop loss, let's go to dip into the 1 hour. So now that we're in the 1 hour, right? Prices came back to the level. And it's starting to reject, right? And now it's starting to come up. So after I seen all this and I seen price start pushing up after stalling at this level and rejecting, right? So now price is starting to push up. So now, where do you guys think a safe place would be to put our stop loss, right? Would we put it right here at this wick? No, right? Because price could just come back and hit this, take us out of the trade, and then go right back up in our direction, right? So we're just going to give a little bit of room. So I believe my stop loss is right here, right? 116.844. That's close enough, right? And my take profit, like I said, was up here. It was 117.610. So right about here, right? So as you can tell, this is a 2.77. So this is a risk reward of 1 to 2, almost 1 to 3, right? So let's just say if we were risking $100 in this trade, right? If it hit our take profit, we would make about $277, right? And if we lost, we would lose $100, right? So that's just basically risk reward. So this is good risk reward. So everything's looking good. So now let's see what happened with the trade, right? So price came back down, started pushing up, came back down again, and it rejected this trend line. Good. So I was still good about this trade, right? Even though it almost hit my stop loss, we're still in the trade and we're still looking good, right? So let's keep playing it. Price starting to push up, and right about, oh, price still good, still looking good, still looking good. Still looking good, right? Because it's still rejecting this trend line, so everything's still looking good, right? But right about here, now, as you can tell, we're like, okay, price is breaking that trend line, right? Instead of pushing up, it's starting to break down a little bit, right? So, right here is where I started to get a little bored, right? Because now it's under all these MAs, right, on the 1 hour. And it's looking like it's not wanting to push up anymore, right? And let's just take it back. I believe I got out of the trade. Let's just see where I got out. 116.945, right? 116.945. So right about right here, right? Let's just make this yellow so we can see it. So I got out of the trade. 116.945. Right about here, right? So once price started pushing back up after hitting this, I got out like right here, right? And even though price is starting to look like it was pushing back up, what could happen is price could just hit this trend line and then start falling. Last time price is up here, it fell, right? And this is just a good daily major zone. So last time it was here, it fell. Last time it was here, it fell. Last time it was here, it fell. And it came back up and started rejecting like this, right? And once I seen that it was rejecting like this, even though I was already in the trade, I was like, maybe price could just start pushing back down. So I wanted to have good risk management skills, right? And just get out of the trade right here, even though it could just come back up and push back up. Since it didn't do it at the trend line, which I wanted it to, right here, instead of pushing back up, it broke out of the trend line. And like I said, this is a daily level. So once it hit here last time before, it fell and kept falling, right? So this is just where I got out of the trade right here, right? Then I got out because that was a daily level and the price wasn't still going up and bouncing, right? It started breaking out of all that. So that's where I got out of that trade, right? And let's just look at the notes. So I said price was pushing up and looking good, but it was also a daily high double top, right? And basically a double top is what it sounds like, right? Just a double top. So hit here and then hit here. So now this is looking like a double top, right? So it's just looking at price is just going to keep pushing down, right? And let's see what price ended up doing. Exactly that, right? So look what it did. It just kept pushing down, right? So that was just having good risk management skills and just identifying things even after I was in the trade. But I seen it and I was just trying to use good risk management skills. So this is just a P&L, right? And it's just basically a profit and loss. So this is a loss. Not really a loss. It's a break-even trade, right? But we didn't gain. We just lost. So it was a negative 10 pips, right? So P&L is negative 10 for that. And this is what it looked like when I got out of the trade, the exit image, right? So that's what it looked like. And then for my trade notes, I put overall good risk management and good job risking 0.5% on the trade due to the daily high and not being 100% about the trade, right? So that was just my notes for that trade. So that's that trade, right? So let's get into the next one. NZD JPY, right? I put 39. That's how much pips I was risking for the trade. 85 is my take profit. And my fundamental bias for this trade was risk on due to Biden's win and more stimulus coming out. So that makes the yen weak. And the NZD should be strong due to risk on flows, right? Since the NZD was strong, price would be going up, right? And since the JPY is weak, price would also be going up. But if the JPY was strong, it would start pushing down, right? I'm not going to get into hella detail about that, but that's just how fundamentals work, right? So my confluences were prices in a steady uptrend made a higher high and came back to make a higher low, as well as hitting old resistance, turning to support, and a trend line as support, as well as rejecting the 50 on the fib and the 50 MA. So let's just take a look what that means, right? So, well, let's just clear everything on the chart and look at market structure first, right? Let's take it back. So as we can identify market structure, what is happening? This is a low in price, a high higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high. So now what are we waiting for? A higher low, right? So let's add things back on the chart. So this is a key level that I had in price, right? Because price came up here, and as you can tell, it came back up here, it fell, right? So this is a good resistance level as well as back here, right? So let's just see what price is doing back here. So as you can tell, price is hitting that support, came back, rejected as resistance, support, support, kinda, resistance. So this is just looking like a good key level, right? And I also had this trend line right here, right? I connected 2 points. Let's go to the daily, so we're not trying to find that for 10 years. So basically I connected this point right here to this point right here, right? And if we could take it back, we can see that it was reacting that support right here, right? So this is looking like a good trend line, right? So we just hit this point to this point and ran it through, right? So once we ran it through, this is what it looked like, right? So the trend line was just hitting here. So it was hitting on this key level as well as the trend line right here, right? And as you can tell, this 50 MA is creeping up where I'm looking at, right? So this is a good confluent area, right? As well as this 38.2 and this 50 fib right here, right? So I was waiting for price to come back down in this general area and reject, right? So let's see what price does. All right, so now price is in this area, right? Let's go down to the 1 hour so you can see better. So as you can see, price came back down, hit this trend line that I had, right? As well as this key level, and it didn't really hit the 38.2, right? But it is rejecting off the 50. So let's see where I got in this trade. Since it hit my level, I'm gonna get in the trade, right? And it's rejecting. It's now starting to push up. So now I'm gonna get in this trade, right? And we're going long, right? So my stop loss, this is what it looked like, right? Not this, because I entered this picture late. It was right here, right, when price started to push up. So price started to push up, right? So now we're in this trade. So now let's just see what happens. So first, price started going our direction, right? And everything's looking good. And then price hit this 50 and started pushing down. Started pushing down more. Now it's coming back up. Now it's making a higher high. On the lower time frame, everything's looking good, still looking good. But now, price is starting to come back down, right? And when I was in this trade, the NZD wasn't that much strong as it was when I first got in the trade, right? It was kind of playing around. I'll show you guys what I mean in Euro NZD too, right? So it started looking good, and then it started coming back swiftly, right? So let's just see where I got out of this trade around. In this exit picture, I didn't take the picture right when I got out of the trade, right? Because I was on my phone, and I don't really like doing it on my phone. So I had to wait till I got back to my computer. And I was just showing you guys the yellow lines where I got out, right? So basically 74.648, right? Let's go back. 74.648. So right around here, right? So this is where I got out of the trade, right? Because price was going up, but then it started coming back down hard, right? Come back down hard. And it was also getting a little mixed for market sentiment, right? It was no longer more risk on than anything, right? So when price started pushing back down to my entry. So I got out of the trade right around here, right? So that was just that trade. The risk reward was good. The trade looked good. Price was going in my favor at first, but then it started coming back down. I didn't believe that market sentiment was a strong risk on, right? It was mixed. So that was making me first worried. And second, it was because prices come back down, right? And not trying to bounce up. It just kept pushing back down. So I got out right here, right? And let's just see what happened after I got out of the trade. Price came back up barely after hitting this key level again, and it crashed, right? So it wouldn't have hit nowhere close to my take profit. So I had good risk management for this trade, right? And price didn't come back down and hit a full stop loss, 1%, right? So let's see what I wrote for this trade. I said price is playing around at the level for a couple hours and started to push down. It started pushing down strong, as well as breaking a trend line and closing with a bearish engulfing candle. So what that means is price came back down here and made this bearish engulfing candle, right? So that was showing that sellers were probably more in the market than buyers, right? And price wasn't just going to go in my favor and push up. So right when I seen this bearish engulfing candle, that's when I was getting a little skeptical about the trade. So I said it made that candle as well as the NZD getting weaker, so I thought price was going to continue down. So I closed around break even. And once I closed, what did it do? Price just broke to that level, right? So it's a good thing I had good risk management, seen that, and wanted to get out the trade right there, right? So my trade notes for this trade was, trade would have worked out, but better to be safe than sorry, right? Because in hindsight, as we can tell looking at it, obviously price broke through this. But when I was in the trade, instead of just having it hold and see if it bounced up at this level and seeing if it would have worked out, price came back down and just broke to that level, right? So that was just having good risk management. So overall, good trade, Lou. So let's get into the last trade, Euro NZD, right? So Euro NZD, I was risking 57 pips to make 173, right? So that's over a 1-2 trade, right? So for my fundamental bias, I had risk on flow should help push the New Zealand down, and the euro is neutral. So what I mean by that is, since the NZD was second, if it was strong, because due to risk on, it would be pushing price down like it did right here, right? Like it did right here. The NZD was strong, NZD was strong. This is risk on, right? So if it would have been weak, then price would have been kind of pushing up, right? And it also depends on the euro, right? Obviously, but risk on, so that means that the NZD would be stronger, gaining strength, so it would be pushing down. So for my confluences, I put price has been in a downtrend, making clear lower lows and lower highs. So as you can tell by price is making lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, right? So price in a downtrend. So we're only looking to sell, right? So price broke through a major support level and came back to test it, as well as a major trend line, the 1.8 on the fib, and the 50 MA moving above price. So major support, and by major support, I was talking about this level right here, right? Because it hit its support, bounced up. Last time it was here, back to the support, resistance, kind of played around over here, support, resistance. So this is just a good key level, right? So once price broke through that support level right here, I was just waiting for it to come back up, test it as resistance, because old support turns new resistance, right? So I was just waiting for price to come back up and test it as resistance, right? So let's hop down to the 1 hour. And I said that it was a trend line right here. So the trend line I was looking at was this trend line right here, right? And as you can tell, it hit here and fell, hit here, fell, hit here, fell, hit here, fell. And now I was just waiting for it to come back up, hit here, and fall again, right? And as well as the 200 MA right here, right? So those are just my confluences, right? Oh, as well as this trend line right here, acting as support and resistance, basically, right? But it's still a trend line. So those are just my confluences I had. So in this general area is where I was looking to take the trade, right? Anywhere in here. So let's just see what it looked like when I got in the trade. It looked like this, right? So prices in my area, right? And it started pushing up, breaking out of that, pushing down a little bit. I didn't see any good rejection right here, so I didn't gain it still, right? I was still waiting. And then price broke out of it even more. But price came up, tried to hit this 200 MA, and then it fell, right? So now it's starting to push down, right? So pretty sure I got in the trade right around here, right? Because price came up, It didn't fall right when it hit this trend line like it did right here, right? Because a lot of retail traders probably got in right here and then got stopped out, right? So it just had to come up and get some orders for liquidity and then push price back down, right? So once it hit this 50 MA, rejected off this trend line and started pushing back down, this is about where I got in. So let's enter the trade. Let me put my levels. So my entry for this trade was 1.69270. My take profit and 558, and my stop loss was. So this is what it looked like when I got in the trade, right around here, right? So my stop loss is above this wick, above this wick, above this wick, right? So just in case price were to come back up and hit here and then fall back, I wouldn't get stopped out of the trade, right? So this is what it looked like. I was aiming for this 1.72 extension level, right, on the fib. So let's see what happened with price. Let's go down to the 1 hour. So price started pushing down, came back up, hit this 200 MA, started pushing back down again. So everything was looking good right here, right? Price is pushing down. And then price started to play around here. So once I seen price started coming up here and rejecting off this trend line right here in the lower time frames, that's when I started getting skeptical, right? Because price tried to drop once right here, try to drop once right here, try to drop once right here. So it was having a hard time dropping past this level, right? So once it came back up here for the 4th time, 1, 2, 3, 4, I was like, okay, this is playing around too much, right? This is not the trade that looks good for me, right? Because I want to see prices start pushing down, right? Or start flowing like this and going down, right? I wouldn't want it to keep seeing it come back up and come back up. So this is when I started getting a little skeptical, right? So I'm pretty sure I got out somewhere over here. Look. And for this exit picture, I wasn't on my computer too, right? I had to wait. So prices already did its thing after I got out on my MetaTrader. So this is what the exit picture looked like. But on my phone, let me see where I got out, right? Here on NZD, 169550. So let's just look what that is. 169550. 169550. So basically right here, right? So this is where I got out of the trade, right? Because as you can tell on the 4 hour, price started pushing back up. So this is just where I got out. And once I got out of the trade, let's see what it did. It reacted good to this 200 MA, right? And it started pushing back down. Came back up, hit the trend line again, and it started pushing back down, right? Hit it, came back down, hit it, came back down. So this trade would have worked out, right? It looks good now in hindsight, but when I'm in the trade, it's not hindsight, right? You're in the trade, you're in the trenches, right? So once I was in them trenches and I seen price start come back up here, then I was getting skeptical. So that's where I just got out of the trade right here, right? And like I said, on the NZD buy, price was playing around at this level too much, right? The NZ was gaining strength, but then it started coming back down to retest. The euro was coming down, but then it started losing strength, so it came back up here, right? So it was just playing around too much for me. So I got out right here, and then price came back down here, did all that, did this thing, right? And this is just what it looks like now. So those are just the trades that I was in for the week. Euro NZD, NZD, JPY, and CHF JPY. So those are just the trades. That's how I managed them. That's what it looked like. So for the, you already seen the exit pictures. So what I put is price was playing around the level for a couple hours and started pushing up, as well as the NZD getting weaker. So I thought price is going to continue up, so I closed, right? And the P&L was 100 pips lost. And for the trade, I put good trade, good technical levels, as well as fundamental. Prices pushing up just to create a wick and continue down. But in the moment, it looked like price was playing around too much, so I wasn't as confident in the trade anymore. Overall, good trade, Lou, right? So those are just the trades that I was in this week. Now, let's go over the trades that I'm looking for this upcoming week. So I have these two highlighted right here, right? The Canadian JPY and the Euro GPB, right? So for the Canadian JPY, let's look at market structure. Price is going up, right? Making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, and now it's come back to make this higher low, right? As well as these MAs right here, right? So let's put the technical levels back on. So price broke out of this lower time frame downtrend, and it came back up here, started making higher highs, higher lows, right? So this trend line right here that I have, it hit once right here, twice right here, and now it's come back for a third touch, right? As well as this key support level, right? So if we go back, you can tell it's acting as resistance right here, right? So, and then acted as resistance right here, broke through, got a lot of buyers in the market, and they all got stopped out, right? So now it's coming back to test it, right? So old resistance is going to turn to support. So as well as the fib from the swing high to the swing low. So I put it from here to here, and this is the 50 and the 618, as well as this 50 right here on the 4-hour and 200 right here on the 1-hour, right? So this is just looking like it's going to be a good trade. And what I'm going to wait for this week is just either for price to push out and then come back to test it and reject like how I did here, or I'm going to wait for price just to move sideways, and just start rejecting upon this trend line. And once it starts pushing up, I'm going to get in the buy right here, probably put my stop loss under here, under the 50 and this little wick right here, and then first target's right here, right? Second target's probably right here if the fundamental agrees with our trade, right? So that's just Canadian JPY. So for the Euro GBP, price in a downtrend, right? Well, it's kind of consolidating, right? So this is going to be a little harder for you guys to look at. But anyways, basically, price has been consolidating right here, right? And it's coming back to test this support. So I think it's going to come back up after hitting the support that it bounced at. I'm thinking price is going to hit here as support, come back up here and test this, because it hit once, twice, 3 times, and this is going to be the 4th touch, as well as MAs lining up all right here in this area, right? And as well as this old support turning what? New resistance, right? So this is where I'm going to look to get in this trade. So if price were to come up here this week when market opens, start rejecting, and start pushing down, probably going to put my stop loss depending on where the wicks are at this level. Put stop loss right here, and then first target's right here. If we have a fundamental bias agreeing with this, first target's right here, and second target's probably at this next level, right? Or at an extension on the fib. So those are the 2 trades that I'm looking for this week. And obviously, if something else sets up in my watch list, then I'll be looking to trade something else too, right? But those are just the ones that are looking good right now. So appreciate you guys for watching this video. What's up, you guys? Appreciate you for... Bro, what, dude? Chill out. You want to say what's up, man? Come here. Oh. Come here, girl. Say what's up, man. Say what's up, dude. Say what's up. Alright, watch out, bro. Anyways, appreciate you guys staying for the whole video. Like I said, please leave a comment if you have any questions. Go ahead and like and hit the subscribe button. And stay tuned for the next video. The next video I'll be talking about how to utilize your trading system and just how to optimize it so you're doing more of what works and less of what doesn't. But appreciate you guys for staying for the video. Go ahead and turn the bell on so you guys get a notification every time I drop a vid so you can stay on it. But appreciate you guys. Love y'all. Peace out.